guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Debra Bowers. She's a female entrepreneur and she helps entrepreneurs trailblaze through business and life. And today's conversation is all about mindset and sales and personality networking. She's got a lot of experience and I think she'd be a really great addition for the female listeners in the audience. So, Debra, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So I know we had a really nice pre-interview conversation and I know what you do. So kind of, briefly 1 to 2 minutes talk about, your business and how you can help the audience.
I spent most of my career, a couple of decades in corporate America running big marketing departments. And then I ended up with 4 kids, 2 of mine and 2 of my husband's, and then we added another and that we adopted, and we couldn't both work 60 hours a week. It just, not if you want your kids to not be criminals. And so I did a bunch of other stuff, and they all graduated high school. They're all grown now. And I started my marketing agency, Hexagon Media, in 2022. And I'd like to say I chose to go out and find my passion and my dream and make all of those decisions, but I was thrust into it with tragedy. My marriage fell apart. My mom, who I was really close to and took care of when she was ill, passed away, and it set me on a path to find myself again and to find my passion again, and I did. And I started my agency. And then in 2023, we started our podcast, Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. And we are almost finished recording season 2. We're really proud of that. And that's just kind of how I ended up here. There was a lot of personal growth and pain and counseling and all of those things that really had to happen to get me here, though, honestly.
Yeah, what a very inspiring story. And always, it's interesting because when I can't make a decision, the universe makes it for me. And it's usually like kicking my ass out on the street. It's kind of, something that is very abrupt and sudden.
I am living proof that if you are not on your soul path, the universe will screw up your life royally to get you there. And it did. And I don't need it anymore. Stay away. I don't need to learn that lesson ever again. So it definitely, I had started really my spiritual journey, gosh, almost 15 years ago. I started meditating and, trying to find myself again, but there were big leaps that I could not make. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it. I'm one of those people that are naturally pretty good at most things that I try, annoyingly so sometimes. And for whatever reason, I couldn't decide. And in my mind, that was deciding for a few years. And so getting thrust there, and I was in a horrible state of grief, and my marriage had fallen apart, and I wasn't taking care of myself physically. I've always been an athlete growing up, and so I like to feel strong and capable, and I felt frail. I was incredibly thin, and I made some non-negotiable boundaries with myself, and I held them. One was, I was like stopping by, grabbing food on the way home, sitting on my bed, eating it, watching TV. I'm such a sad case. And I decided, one, I'm not going to eat in my bedroom. I'm going to be out. I'm only going to be in my bed for 2 reasons. And the rest of the time I'm up. If I'm sick, I'm on the couch, and I'm not going to eat fast food. I'm a great cook. I have been cooking since I had to stand on a chair to reach the stove. And it was a, different time. I'm older than I look. And it felt good to get back doing those things. And then I was going to get strong again and work out. And a lot of people work out to lose weight. And I was working out trying to gain it back because I felt when you're in your 50s, you lose muscle. It's really hard to get it back. But I did. And that was really what set me off on my journey. And that really is, I think, the step for most people. The first step to having a mindset for success is really starting to make decisions that are healthy for you and physically. And because your vessel has to be able to hold the success that you want. And you see it time and time again, somebody get all of their stuff and their success and it just, they just spill out, lose their mind, get on drugs or whatever the thing is, and their vessel wasn't prepared for that success yet. And so that was really the first step for me. I was already meditating, but I had kind of dropped off my practice a little bit. And so I got back into that and on my personal healing journey. And I had a couple of clients that I had consulted with over the years for marketing and signed them up and launched my agency and have been working on my own mindset since then. It is really a work in progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah, what a fantastic story and journey. And so I want to touch upon this idea because you talk about these non-negotiables. And so, for example, somebody listening in the audience, she's like, okay, you talk about negotiables. I'll never work for somebody. I will never be beholden to getting fired or laid off or some crook CEO or something like that. And then the fact is, he or she has to pay the bills, right? So how, your negotiables like, I don't want to work for people, but then at some point you have to kind of come down to reality and say, how do you reconcile this dichotomy?
Well, I think it's about the plan, right? It'd be great if you and I went, well, I don't want to do that. And then the next day you just got to do what you wanted. It, right? Wouldn't that be fantastic? My podcast would be such a big hit already and everything would be glorious. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think that we make a mistake sometimes because there's a path in front of us, right? And that path is not what I want to do forever, right? But that's the path I have to take to get to where I want to be. And so I think it's about setting that goal. And if it is something like that, then it's like, then it would be the non-negotiable instead of I don't want to work for anybody ever again. That's the effect that you want. But you're really going to say, I'm going to work towards this goal and I'm not going to work on anything else until it's done. Mm-hmm. And now you're focused on that and the universe only hears, what am I doing? What am I doing? What's coming? What am I working on? And that's manifestation. Yeah. Sitting and saying, I don't want to work for anybody else again is like just sitting back and praying for something to happen and wondering why it's not happening. And you have to have action. You have to take action and show, I'm ready. I'm ready. My vessel's ready. I'm ready for this success. That's a process. That's a process for sure. But that's how for my coaching clients, and if I'm doing sales coaching, we always talk about mindset. And I always want to focus on what the goal, the path to get there is what's non-negotiable, right? The path to get there. Because my goal wasn't to work out every day. That was my path to get where I needed to go. And so for me, it's more about that.
I love that. I love how you talked about a plan and a path. And, I know it's, I've heard stories of people, they're like, they fired themselves. They just quit their job and they're like, yeah, they still have to pay the bills. So, I mean, for better or worse, they drive for Uber or Lyft or, food delivery, different thing, rent out the rooms, just kind of as a temporary to get to where they need to be. Next question, because you talk about mindset, which is so crucial in sales and also this idea of being unstoppable. What is this idea of being unstoppable? What does it mean? Because you got a podcast season talking about this, and how can listeners cultivate this trait in their lives?
Our theme for Deals with Heels this season is definitely becoming unstoppable. And for us, my co-host Christina and I, both of us have been on a very similar kind of personal growth, spiritual healing, and building our business journey. And so we wanted to have guests and have content and feel and do all of the things that are going to help us be unstoppable. And for me, that feeling is I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it. I'm never watering myself down to make anyone comfortable again. That's a non-negotiable. and I'm my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, my professional well-being, all of those things go together, right? To make you feel like I'm unstoppable. I can do this. No one is going to be in my way. I can make this happen. And having the support for us, it's been about support from other women, but support from anywhere. Over half of our viewers on YouTube are men because the information is such great information. And so for me, it's really about that. And then in my business, if I am unstoppable, then anything I'm touching is unstoppable. And building that entrepreneurial mindset where you don't get defeated because you had a little, oh, that didn't work. You just pivot and go another direction. And having that, being able to maintain it, because when I hit that obstacle, I didn't just won't and get all down about it. And I was, that to me is what makes it me feel unstoppable, is the mindset where if I'm going and there's something that happens, because let's face it, we all have bullshit in our lives. No one is immune from it. No one is immune. And so being able to hit whatever that is that likely the universe put there so that you don't go that direction, then that being able to maneuver through that without it affecting me, affecting who I am and how I feel about myself and how I feel about what I'm doing, and not being discouraged, understanding what is happening. All of that to me is really it. And I'm certainly not perfect at it, but I have come a long way in the last 2 years at being able to adjust and not worry about. I mean, I come from a long line of worriers, and that whole paying the bills, I still got to pay the bills thing, right? But worrying about that, Christopher, is scarcity mindset. And that will take your money. It'll scare your money away. So don't do that. But it's hard not to. It's really hard not to.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I really love that this unstoppable. And then you talk about, because every time I read a sales book, it just what really what really impresses me is this hustle and this work ethic and just kind of this go-getting mentality. And so apply this unstoppable mindset to sales, and how do you overcome a rejection or just kind of no response? How do you apply that into those situations?
I think that, so for sales is a numbers game. It is. It's a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more you'll close. And when I do sales coaching, I really break it down. They'll ask, how many sales can I make in a week if you help me? Well, I don't know. How many do you need? And they can't even tell you that. So we back it out like that. And then once you've got little, and you realized, if I talk to people, then I close 65% of them. Well, so really what you need is more people in front of you. And breaking all of that down and figuring out specifically what you need really empowers that salesperson. You may find out I only need to contact 10 people a week in order to well exceed my goals. And when you break it down in those little bitty steps, then it seems much, much easier to overcome that. And when you realize it's just a numbers game, you don't take that rejection personally. I think it's also important that you don't try to sell your friends and your warm market. I see a lot of people that are, well, no, my friends, and they don't support my business. They don't buy things from me. It's like, it would be great if I had their business. Don't get me wrong. That's cherry. I'd love to have it. But what I really want is everyone they know's business. Just getting your business is very limiting. I'd rather have everyone you know's business. I'm not the only good marketing person in Oklahoma City. So you may have somebody that you already use. That's fantastic. And that's great. I just want in on that referral rotation so that I can get that business. And I think if you stop worrying about having to sell that person And if they do say no, you say, okay, well, thanks for listening to me. And if you know anyone that you think I can help, please let me know and ask for that. Now there is no uncomfortableness if you talk to them again. They don't fear that you're going to try to sell them again because you accepted that and have moved on. So now you're coming back in saying, when you ask them again, now you're asking them again, have you thought about it? Do you know anyone I might be able to help? And that really is building your warm market, and it will get you past. Those are the pivots, right? So you get that obstacle and you get told no 10 times and you're defeated. I usually give myself like small goals. Like, I'm not going home till I talk to 3 more people. I'm going to talk to 3 more people before I go home. And oftentimes those last days, it just sets your mindset right when you end it by completing a goal.
Yeah, I really love that. And as we come to the conclusion, so I really love your mindset. It reminds me of this book I read. It's called The Power of One More. It's just kind of, you've accomplished it, but you just kind of do that extra just to push you over the edge. How can people, find you and follow your socials and check you out?
I'm on all of the socials, of course. LinkedIn is a great place to find me. And my podcast website, which is dealswithheels.com. It has everything about me and links to all my social, and to listen to our show. We're premiering in the middle of season 2 right now. We have lots of great sales and marketing guests, and of course, mindset and building mindset and being strong, and how not to wait until you're thrust into tragedy to make changes in your life. I think I asked almost every guest that, how it's so hard to make the decision to do it. And so often we can't. And so the universe makes it for us. You're right.
I love that. I really enjoyed talking with you, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time and great conversation.